Hey guys, welcome back to Baker's Acres Homestead. I'm Roxanne and I am so very glad that you're here with me today. I just wanted to share with you guys my garden for one last time and share what I did with the rest of my tomatoes that were on my tomato plants. So this will definitely be the last time that I share my garden this year because it is pretty much gone, as you can see in the background there. It's pretty much all dead. We had quite a few days of frost and nights that got really cold. We had some nights in the single digits even, and we got some snow and some ice, and it pretty much did a number on my garden. Pretty much everything is wiped out. Well, not pretty much everything. Everything is wiped out. It's completely gone. And before the frost came, I did still have some tomato plants that were still producing and doing really well and had tons of green tomatoes on them. So I went ahead and picked all the green tomatoes on there. That way I wouldn't lose them. And I took them inside to preserve them so that I could still use them and I wouldn't lose all my tomatoes that I had left on my plants. So like I said, there's my garden for the last time this year. It's all gone. I have one bed over here that has garlic planted in it, and one of those yellow totes over there that has garlic. I got 72 garlic cloves in into those. And so hopefully those do well over the winter. With garlic, you usually want to do it in the fall before the ground gets too cold. Before the ground gets too cold, but with enough time that it can get established before it does get too cold. And then it kind of sits dormant through the winter, and the cold is really what gives that garlic its really strong flavor. It needs that cold weather through the winter to give it that. And then when the spring comes and it starts warming up again and the sun is shining for more hours in the day, then it'll start growing again, and then usually harvest it about midsummer. It'll be ready. So I do have that in the garden that I'm looking forward to and hoping that it does well. This is the first year that I've ever tried garlic, so hopefully we'll get something out of that. But I did make a video inside when I picked those tomatoes, so I will just share that with you guys now. So we are going to have a few nights of frost this week. Actually, quite a few nights. I think there's only one night this week that is not gonna be below freezing, and we're gonna be like in the 20s, like 27, 28. There's even one night that's gonna be 23. But anyways, my tomato plants still had tons of green tomatoes on them, and makes me kind of sick how many green tomatoes were on there that won't ripen, because this frost in several consecutive days is definitely going to do a number on my tomato plants. They're not going to fare very well after this week. So I went ahead and went out there and picked all my green tomatoes instead of letting them go to waste and just rot on the plant and not do too good after the tomato plants get through this frost. So I went ahead and picked them, and I thought that I would do something with them. So I wanted to share with you what I am doing today. So I am just cutting any bad spots out of my green tomatoes and cutting like the core out of them, and then like this here, you probably see it, scoring the bottoms of them, and then just putting them in freezer bags to freeze them to make like green salsas, or I saw another recipe for green tomato jam, and just different things that you can make with green tomatoes. Some of them I've never tried, so it'll be new, but I've got tons and tons of green tomatoes here to use, as you can see, and still some in here to use too. So we will figure out what to do with these. And I also set some aside over here that I am saving to do fried green tomatoes for supper tonight, or with supper tonight. So I will share that with you guys after I am done doing the rest of these tomatoes. Also, I wanted to share tomatoes like these two that have some yellowing or red spots on them already, ones that have started to turn but are still pretty green. If they didn't have all these cracks and spots in them, you could actually put these like in a brown bag or a box. You could like layer them in there, like layer of tomatoes and layer of newspaper, layer of tomatoes, layer of newspaper, however you want to do it. I've also seen people just put the tomatoes in the box or brown bag and just check them every few days and pull out any bad ones or ripe ones. But if they didn't have these bad spots in them, you could use that method to go ahead and ripen them the rest of the way. And I heard that it works fantastic. But obviously, these are starting to turn. They have started turning, but they've got all these cracks and bad spots in them, so they wouldn't work for that method, because those cracks and bad spots would actually make them rot and go bad before they actually turned. All right, that is done. I got about 5-gallon freezer bags of those green tomatoes to put away in the freezer for other recipes. So now that that's done, let's get started on these green tomatoes. And I will share with you the recipe that I am using. It calls for a half a cup of cornmeal, a quarter cup of flour, all-purpose flour, a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt, and a quarter teaspoon of pepper. And then you just slice up your tomatoes into pretty thick chunks. Not too thick, but not too thin either. And then you dredge them into the cornmeal mixture and then fry them in a large frying pan with about 1/4 inch of oil. And you brown one side and then flip them and brown the other side, and that's it. And then you have a yummy, delicious treat. So let's get started on this, guys. I'm going to show you, or take you along and show you what I'm doing here. Okay, here is my breading and my green tomatoes sliced up. And now I will just take the tomatoes like so, and then just dredge them in the flour cornmeal mixture to get them ready for frying. And I'll put a few of them in there at a time. Coat them good all around. Let's get this fork out of the way. Okay, that's good for those, and then we can go ahead and put those in the frying pan when the frying pan is heated up and ready to go. So I have my frying pan over here on the stove with the oil in it already heating up, and a trick that I learned a long time ago to tell when your oil is good and hot and ready for frying is you either take a little bit of your breading mixture or a drop of water on your finger and drop it into the batter, and if it sizzles and pops really good, then you know that it's ready for frying. So we will test it before we start frying these tomatoes to see if it's good and hot and ready to fry these tomatoes up. Alright, the oil is good and hot, so let's go ahead and test it and see if it's ready for frying. I'm going to get a little water on my fingers here, and then I'll just wash it in the pan. You see how it pops and sizzles like that? That means it's good and ready for frying these tomatoes. So let's get started. So we'll let those brown up on that side and then flip them and brown them on the other side, and they'll be ready for eating. And then we'll get all these rest of these tomatoes fried up and battered and fried up and ready to go. And then I will show you the final product. Alright, I don't have all of my tomatoes done yet, but I do have quite a few of them finished, but I'm going to have to end this video because I have some other stuff I need to get ready and prepare for supper, and a few other things that I need to finish up before bedtime. So I will show you guys these tomatoes that I do have finished. So here's what we have. They look so good. Nice and golden brown color. Now I am going to taste test this one right here. So good. Just right. That is a very good fried green tomato. Well guys, I'm glad you came along with me today, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And thanks for watching, and God bless until next time.